Hey everyone, welcome back. Hyundai follows Lucid partnering with Saudi's PIF to build a new manufacturing factory. Hyundai and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, also known as the PIF, announced plans on Monday to establish a new auto manufacturing plant in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Hyundai and the Saudi's Public Investment Fund signed a joint venture agreement to build a new highly automated vehicle manufacturing plant in Saudi Arabia at the end of Saudi Korean Business Forum. The joint ventures aim to produce up to 50,000 vehicles per year. Although Hyundai and the PIF plans to build EVs at the new plant, they will also make ICE vehicles. This is very interesting for both Saudi Arabia Investment Public Fund and, of course, for Hyundai. Now, the Saudis' PIF will own 70% of the new joint venture, with Hyundai holding the retaining 30%. The partners are expected to invest over $500 million into the project. Now, you see, this makes a lot of sense in my opinion. If the Saudi governments were the ones to propose such a venture with Hyundai, it would make sense for the Saudi investment to be the one who's making the major investment in this plant. And basically, they just offer Hyundai or another manufacturer a huge stake in this venture, like 30%. 30% is really good. It doesn't sound incredible, but it's actually incredible, especially when it's an offer made to you. Let me get this right. If you've got a car manufacturing company and a country approached you and said, we would like to build a new factory, or at least help you to establish this new factory, all you have to do as a country, as an investment fund, we will help you to gather the correct amount of investment, the equipment needed for the factory, the employees needed for running said factories and operational, strategical transportation. We will help you with a lot of these things, and we will give you 30% if you just slap your name onto the factory. Let us work together. That's basically what the Saudi governments are saying to Hyundai. So it's an incredible deal for Hyundai. But I can see many ways this could be benefactoring to Saudi governments as well, to the Saudi Investment Fund. This is driving more attention to their country in many given ways. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is not known as a place that a lot of people tend to want to visit. They're slowly starting to change that based on public perception. The Saudi government, they want to have an approach that is similar to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, but even more innovation, more manufacturing. They're sort of taking a little bit of out of the page from China and a little bit out of the page from Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And to be honest, if you look at the history of Saudi Arabia, especially for the last 10, 15 years, it's actually been slowly evolving into an extremely modern society. The problem is, this often does not get displayed on our public media. So in case you want to know this information, you actually have to purposefully search and seek out this knowledge. Without seeking out this knowledge, you wouldn't actually come into contact with this knowledge. And it's clear that they want to do business. They understand that oil is not going to last forever. People around the world are actively trying to find ways to replace it. And while it will be some time before it's fully replaceable, the Saudi government clear that they have an objective at finding other ways to bring funding and resources to their nation. So, bravo to the Saudi government. Absolutely bravo. It's one of those countries quite similar to the UAE. They have to import a lot of workers. So a lot of people are actually working in that country are actually people that are born outside of Saudi Arabia or people who've migrated to Saudi Arabia. Quite similar to the UAE, there's a large percentage of the population in the UAE, foreigners. They came there for work, they came for business, they came for other opportunities. They came to live, they came for the luxury, the different lifestyle that it offers. So these countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, they're in a very interesting position because they're doing well in business and they're continuing to grow in this business. And Saudi Arabia has been demonstrating that. They've built a factory for Lucid. They've invested heavily into Lucid. Now they're building a factory for Hyundai. They want to do a partnership. They're already doing a partnership, a joint venture with Hyundai. 30% for Hyundai, 70% for the Saudi government. I can promise you, the Saudi government is investing a lot into these factories and they want to invest more into other factories to gain more companies to build vehicles in that area. They want more businesses, and I don't see any problem with that. That is good. Good for them. They're thinking outside the box. They're doing something that they should have started doing 10 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. They're starting to think a little bit like China. They're starting to think a little bit like the UAE. They're also starting to think a little bit like the Netherlands, more European countries that often think in such strategic way of business ventures. It's business is business is business. Now, Lucid officially opens the first EV manufacturing plant in Saudi Arabia last month. Saudi's second plant globally has already begun semi-knocking down the SDK assembly. Lucid plant is expected to produce 5,000 Air EVs annually for the first phase. Once finished, Lucid expects to have about 150,000 annual capacities at this factory. Absolutely marvelous, especially for a country like Saudi Arabia to be having this much output eventually, 150,000 vehicles per year. That would be remarkable. The clientele in that region, who they can offer these vehicles to, where can they ship these vehicles to. So as one of the top oil producers, Saudi Arabia is looking to diversify its economy. We know that thus far, and that's a good thing that they're changing the way they think and do business. As part of the Saudi Vision 2030, the region aims to raise and share a non-oil GDP of 50% from around 16% today. So right now, if you consider the money the country is making, 60% of that is not oil related. They'd like to raise that to 50%. They want to continue to increase it. They want to be less reliant on oil. And that's a good thing. Almost like an insurance policy, kind of, just in case when oil isn't the thing anymore. Oil is known as black gold, and it's not going away anytime soon. Many people in the world will still use petrol vehicles, diesel vehicles. They'll still need oil for various different reasons. So it's not fully going away anytime soon, but the world is slowly adopting a new form of transportation. The Public Investment Fund has invested around 9 million in Lucid altogether. Now on the website of Electric, it says 9 million, invested around 9 million. I think that could be incorrect. I think it could be a whole lot more. Seriously, 9 million? That's not much. Perhaps they mistake 9 million for some other number, maybe 900 million or 9 billion. I don't know. I could be wrong. But 9 million is nothing, really. That's nothing. That's child's play. Anyway, the Public Investment Fund owns around 60.5% of Lucid common stocks at the end of June. Hyundai has already announced its plan to become a top 3 EV producer globally, with 31 electric models by 2030. However, producing ICE vehicles at the new plant in 2026 could set them back from the competition that's going 100% EV. So why would they want to produce vehicles that are non-electric? Because non-electric vehicles are still selling. That is still a prosperous avenue. That is still an area in which people do still want to buy petrol vehicles. If people are using less petrol, less gas, then the price will probably go down over time, which means that it might actually become cheaper to run a petrol vehicle than to run an electric vehicle. And for the longest time, we've been told that running electric vehicles, we've been trained and almost learned to understand that electric vehicles should essentially be cheaper, a lot cheaper than petrol and gas. But what if there's an influx point where that could suddenly mean that petrol vehicles temporarily become cheaper to run than electric, at least the cost of gas compared to the cost of electric? What if that happens? That'd be very interesting. And in my opinion, it's already happening. Charging these electric vehicles, they're not as cheap as they used to be 5, 7, 8 years ago. You know, back in 2013, back in 2014, back in even 2015, 2016, charging these vehicles was a lot more affordable for a lot of people. It's getting more expensive. And we also lack the infrastructure to support electric vehicles charging. We've got a lot of work to do. And a lot of the governments around the world are not doing enough to invest in this educational area. But that is it for this video. Let me know what you think. I think it's fascinating to see what Hyundai is thinking, what they're trying to accomplish, and also vice versa, what Saudi Arabia is trying to accomplish. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.